There's been a bit of talk the past few days about who's actually responsible for the downing of the Ukrainian passenger jet that killed almost 200 people, 57 Canadian citizens among the mix. The answer is, of course, obvious. In fact, the government of Iran has admitted, after lying about it for a while and trying to cover it up, that yes, they downed that missile. And now the question is whether it was accidental or not, or deliberate. Certainly makes sense that it would be accidental. A lot of people believe that, although the head of Canada's Transportation Safety Board has clarified, well, we also need to know that factually as well, not just what Iran says and not just what our gut tells us. So anyway, the investigation continues. We know Iran did it, we know Iran caused it, and we're going to learn the details soon. But hold on, that's not enough for some people. Some people want to rush to immediately find a way to blame Donald Trump for this and talking about how a cascading series of events that somehow began with the killing of Soleimani is the sole responsibility for that, and therefore it's okay to say these Canadians would still be alive were it not for the killing of Soleimani. Kind of odd rationale there. You can go back to many other things. They would still be alive were it not for the 1979 Islamic Revolution that happened in Iran, and so on and so forth. I can just pick things out of a hat to point out, to make this point. I don't want to have that argument because, look, quite frankly, we've got a number of people dead here, dozens of Canadian citizens, and it is a really unfortunate time. It is a time of mourning, and you look at the biographies of these people and the backgrounds, and you go, wow, this is really sad. This is really tragic. So speaking of what also is really sad, I just think it's sad that people's headspace immediately takes them to, how can I make this about get Trump and make Trump look bad? You know, I get it with these very partisan issues that materialize in the United States. There's a playbook. The right says this, the left says this. They have it in the US, we have it here in Canada. That's how it rolls. So if you want to see some random domestic news story, some piece of legislation put forward, and then the CNN people, they turn that little switch in their head and say, okay, well, I automatically have to say how this is Trump's fault, how Trump is wrong, how he's a moron. Donald Trump says the sky is blue. All right, let's find a way to argue that it's not blue. I get that they do that. I think it's silly, but I get that they do that. In this situation, it should be different. A basic thing called, I don't know, classiness, basic human decency should enter the mix where this is not some opportunity to own Trump, because quite frankly, it really makes a mockery of the lives lost if that is your approach to this issue. Which brings us to Canadian Maple Leaf Foods CEO Michael McCain. Very sad, I think. Sad is really the ultimate word I would use to characterize those series of tweets that he made where he commandeered the social media account to say, I am Michael McCain, and these are personal reflections. Oh, everyone stand back here. We're about to see a performance. I am very livid. I am angry. My anger has not gone away with time. And then he tells us that one employee at Maple Leaf Foods lost his wife and a child in the crash, and that's a very tragic thing. Okay. And then Michael McCain right away goes to talking about geopolitics and the Iran deal and so forth, because he's such an expert in all of this, and basically makes it clear that a narcissist in Washington is responsible for this. Dare I submit, a narcissist takes one to know one, Mr. McCain. That's what we have going on here. Because in these series of tweets, does he mention the names of these people? No. Does he post an adoring photograph to say, look at these people we have lost, these Canadians, these Maple Leaf Food, if not employees, the family of an employee? Does he put those? Is there a commemoration to them? No, there's not. Maybe they asked him to not be included in all of this. I don't know, but it's certainly at face value looks like an incredibly self-indulgent, look at me saying anti-Trump statement at this of all times. Now there's another CEO out there, Mohammed Fakih. He's the CEO of Paramount Fine Foods based in Toronto, but they have restaurants all across the country. He came up with this fundraiser. He wants to raise $1.5 million to pay for the funeral costs of all of the deceased, the Canadian deceased, and I guess he's paying for the managing of it all and paying for the law firm or whichever firm it is going to manage it all. So he's putting up his money for that, and then is trying to draw attention to this fundraiser. No political statements, no partisanship, nothing. Just him talking about we've lost these people. It's tragic. Let's come together as Canadians on this. Michael McCain should really take a look at this and see you could have actually said or done something positive. You didn't have to make it about partisanship. You didn't have to make it all about you. Rather tragic that at this time, when a nation is in mourning, we can't come together like this. It still has to be about anti-Trump tweets. Sad. Sad indeed.